Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me. There were some technical difficulties, but yeah, I'm playing the Austrian Championship and I just finished round one. I hope that the board and the voice and everything is clear now. Let me know in the chat how everything is looking. And yeah, I would like to go through today's game. I'm trying this out with a live stream now. Let me know what you think about it. In the past, I've only did it with YouTube videos, but now I'm trying it live. So if you have any questions regarding the game or anything else whatsoever, just let me know in the chat. I'm having an eye on it all the time. Otherwise, I will jump right into it. And yeah, it's gonna be quite raw. I have to admit, I only checked the game pretty quickly. So let's go through it together. I was white in round one against Ilijic Mihailo, who is a pretty young guy. So yeah, I knew that it was not gonna be that easy. Even though he's rated 2100, which is way below my rating with 2527. But yeah, let's jump into the game. I played knight f3, knight f6, g3, g6, and now b3. Pretty standard. I've played the system pretty often. The idea is to not allow this type of King's Indian like this. But I want to fianchetto my bishop on this long diagonal myself, which I did. And after c5, now I played c4. Black could also castle bishop g2, d6 if he wants to play in the King's Indian style, but now after d4, it is significantly harder for him to get e5, what most King's Indian players want. So yeah, that's the whole point of this system. He went c5 and now I go c4, because if I go bishop g2, then he can play d5, and now after castle, I don't have such a great choice here, because always if I go c4, he can transpose to some sort of Benoni with d4. So this is the whole issue. Also, if he would go d5 right away, I would like to go c4. So that is the whole point here. He went c5, c4, and now he went d6, bishop g2, castle, and now he went knight c6, which I was pretty happy to see. Probably the best move is to go e5 and to go for this type of Botvinnik triangle here. But the knight is on f6, so it makes black's task to push f5 a bit harder, and after something like knight c3, knight c6, d3, h6, a3, this is what I checked before, and knight d2. He will try to push d5 somehow, but then the pawn on c5 might be a bit weak at some points, and if I can try and manage to get b4, that would obviously be my dream. I would have been quite happy to play this position as well. But he went knight c6 and now went d4. I also thought about playing knight c3 here, with the idea that after e5, d3, we're now in the same position. But after knight c3, I was actually not sure about knight e4, because if I take, then he wins the bishop pair. And otherwise, I thought about something like queen c2, but then if he takes everything and goes e5, at least I thought that the position is kind of dry. Yeah, so I didn't want to exchange too many pieces right away. That's why I went d4, and now he went cd4, which again came as a slight surprise. Knight e4 is kind of the most concrete way, I would say, to approach the position. And now I wasn't sure what I wanted to play. I remember that e3 was my latest preparation, but I didn't remember how the line went. I knew that bishop g4 was the move, but now I completely forgot queen c1, which I just checked is the engine's choice, and it was also what I analyzed. I only thought about h3 during the game, but after takes knight g5. Now he's threatening knight e6, and this pawn is quite loose here because of the pin. So yeah, queen c1 has to be played, and now black anyway should take here, and after knight g5, bishop c6, bc6, and this is what I checked, dc5 here, and white is just a bit better here because of the better pawn structure. These pawns tend to be pretty weak here. So yeah, but he went c takes d4, and after knight takes d4, bishop d7, now knight c3, knight takes d4, queen d4, bishop c6, and now we have this type of Morozzi structure, which tends to be really solid for black, but white usually keeps a nice advantage in most cases, like a small space advantage. I went queen d2 to prepare e4. E4 right away doesn't work because of knight takes e4. That's the whole issue. So I went back, and now he took king takes g2, queen c8. I thought that he should maybe go for some a6 idea to try and prepare b5, but I could have also stopped it at some point with a4. Like if the threat is becoming serious, then I would go a4. Maybe I could go rook e1 first, try and prepare e4. So I also thought I would be slightly better here. But he went queen c8, e4, e4, queen c6, and now knight d5. So queen c6, I think queen c8 already was maybe a step in the wrong direction, because he totally underestimated his knight d5. The point is that he cannot take this pawn because of knight takes e7 check. And after king h8, now I have the important intermediate check with queen d4. And on the next move, I'm picking up this queen here on c6, and I'm winning. So that's why he took on d5, and now e takes d5 is what I played. I also briefly thought about c takes d5, but now the position is quite symmetrical here, and I didn't want to allow this, even though I would have managed to get control along the c-file with rook c2 now, with the point that rook c1 is coming. But even something like this, like if he takes and goes queen d4, he always has counterplay with his queen, and the c-file is probably not that important here overall. So I went e takes d5, queen d7, and now the whole point is after takes, rook e1, now the pawn on e7 is a huge weakness. And if black were in time to have a6 and b5 to create this weakness himself here on c4, then he would probably be fine. But he's just super slow here. If he goes b5 right away, I can simply take, and then the pawn on e7 drops. So yeah, he played b6, a prophylactic move against queen d4 check, and then at some point the pawn on a7 might hang. So I think this was his idea. I went rook e4 with the point that rook e1 is coming now, putting even more pressure on the pawn on e7. And also rook h4 is an idea to attack this king here on g7. He went e6 right away, which probably he has to at some point. Like if he goes for some passive defense, we could also check this line here, which I had a look before. a6, rook e4, b5. Now rook e1, rook e8, and rook h4 is already crushing here. I'm threatening queen h6 with check. And yeah, if he goes h5, then I have queen d4 check. And after king g8, g4, and now his king side is just totally collapsing, and I'm winning. So he went b6 and e6 now, takes, rook d4, but now he has these two weak pawns, and especially the pawn on d6 was my target now, which I attacked here, tripling the heavy pieces along the d-file. Queen c6 check, king g1, and now he went queen c5 with the point that now I cannot take, because then the pawn on f2 is hanging, and he at least has perpetual check here, which I obviously didn't want to allow. So went b4, just dislocating the queen from c5. He went back queen c7, queen f5 I also thought about, but I thought it ran into quite some things. Rook f4 for one. Now the queen is almost getting trapped. Like after, I think, rook e1, the queen has to go somewhere g5 or h5. And queen g5 actually doesn't work because of rook f7. It's quite pretty. And I guess queen h5 would lose also to rook h4. So the queen has to go back, probably. He went to c7. I went a3 now. This is where I thought quite a lot here in this position, because I obviously can take on d6 right away. But now he plays queen c4, and he's attacking this pawn here. Obviously his king is quite weak, but I thought he can always defend here with rook f7 if I have any checks along the 7th rank. And I wasn't so sure here. After queen e5, king g8, a3 is anyway the move, which I have to play, so that's why I played a3 here, just to get ready for rook takes d6. He went rook d7, and now I went h4. I could have also taken right away, and now get the same position with, at least I have this move a3. But I wanted to keep the pressure here with h4 and keep him waiting. Now if he would defend the pawn on d6 passively, I thought I have all sorts of things on the king side with h5 and quite a big attack here. And yeah, therefore he went rook f5, and probably he wanted to somehow prepare d5, also maybe rook f7 at some point with some counterplay. So now I decided to take here, but it was actually not clear at all how this was. Like I felt it should be pretty good for me because the king is so weak, But also this pawn on f2 is a target, and I always have to watch out that he doesn't get counterplay here on the second rank. I went rook e1 to attack this pawn on e6. My original idea was to play queen b8 here to attack the pawn on e7, and after rook f7, now I wanted to go queen e5 check, and I thought this should be pretty good for me. But then I saw that after queen b8, he has, I think it was queen c2, and now I have troubles here defending this pawn, and after rook d7 check, he even has king h6, and now I cannot, at least I didn't even see a way how to protect the pawn on f2. So yeah, then I would have had to go rook f1 or something, but that's obviously not something I want to do. So that's why I went rook e1, just pressuring the pawn on e6. He went queen a2, which was a very good move. Queen d4 check, rook f6, and now I went rook c1. According to the engine, rook d1 was better, but I didn't even think about this. Rook c1 looks so logical, just preparing rook c7, picking up the rook on f6. But now he played e5, which was the only move, but after this it became pretty hard to win the game, and later on it was even equal. The point why rook d1, at least how I understood it, is better, that now after e5, queen e3, he never has the d5 square for the queen, which would be the best square for him. And yeah, after queen e6, now h5 works, and I'm threatening h6 check, and if he takes, then queen g5 comes, and now his king is just super weak here. So rook d1 was apparently the best move for me here. I went rook c1, but now after e5, I was kind of in a dilemma because I cannot take again because of queen takes f2. I went rook c7 check, but king g8 was pretty strong. This is the only square where he can go, because if he goes to f8 or to h8, then I have queen d8 with checkmate. But now after queen d8, there is rook f8, and I guess I'm even losing because I cannot protect the pawn on f2. Yeah, for all of you who just came, I'm analyzing my game from round 1 of the Austrian Championship. It was a pretty tough game. I played like 5 hours, and yeah, we're just going through everything. So if you have any questions, just type them into the chat. I'm having a look on my phone. So yeah. Anyway, after rook c7, king g8, I went queen e3, and I still thought my position is extremely promising because the pawn on a7 is hanging, the pawn on e5 is always very weak. And yeah, I didn't see a move for him, but then he played rook f7, and then I realized it's not gonna be easy at all. Hang on, sorry, 1 second, I skipped to the starting position. Let me find back, where was I? Here, rook c7. Yeah, and after rook c8 check, rook f8. So yeah, here we are in the game. We're back in the game. Rook f7, rook f8 check. And after rook f8, now I took. If I would take immediately here, then king takes f7 comes, and after queen e5, now he has queen takes a3 with equal material, and this is probably already a draw. So I went for rook c8, rook f8, and now I took. And only now I took on e5, because now after queen takes a3, I have queen h8 check, and at least I'm up a pawn now. But this position is actually very tough. Objectively, it should be a draw, so I think that he defended really well. Gaming Rabbit, hello, just stopping by. Thank you for playing against Tunish. Yeah, sure, man, it was a pleasure. So thank you for watching. Tunish is a great guy. He's putting out a lot of work, a lot of content. So yeah, I'm happy you liked it. And yeah, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to write them in the chat for sure. But thanks for stopping by, man. So yeah, after queen h7, king f6 is what he played, and I'm up a pawn now, but he always has some counterplay on the queen side because there is his majority, and I realized that this is not gonna be easy, and the game took, yeah, it was quite a marathon, let's put it like this. So I went b5 here, which is probably not the best try. I should have tried queen h8 check, king f7, and now h5. The point is now that I'm threatening many things. I'm threatening h6 for once, just to promote this pawn, but also queen h7 check and just picking up this pawn here. And he, as far as I could see, he only has one defense here, which is queen c1 check, king g2, queen c6, and now to go queen c2, which is very hard. Now I don't have h6, because the pawn on f2 is hanging, and apparently after queen f7, I guess he has king f6, and yeah, this is pretty nice also, that if take everything here, then after king g6 b5 I would be winning, but he can play a5 and then he's winning, so that's the whole issue here. Yeah, after queen c2, computer says it's a draw, but it will be similar to what I had in the game, but I think this is very hard to find, this whole sequence. If he takes on h5, which I anticipated in the game, then after queen h5, after a couple of checks, I will bring the queen to d7, and then I play b5, and then he can never exchange this pawn here, creating a passer, which then should be winning in the long run. I can just start pushing my pawns cautiously, and this should be winning. So yeah, I think I should have definitely tried this queen h8 and h5, but instead I went for b5, and now he went a5, which is a very, very good move. If he went a6, at least I thought that I have queen b7 now, and he's losing both of his pawns. So if he takes now, queen takes b6 check, comes with a double attack, and now I'm just winning. But after a5, if I go something like queen b7 now, he always has queen c5, and now my pawn on b5 is weak, and also this this pawn is pretty fast, so I didn't want to go there. So therefore I took on a6, queen takes a6, queen h8 check, king f7, and now h5, and now we reach this extremely interesting endgame, which objectively is a draw, but obviously from a practical perspective, it's pretty tough for black to defend it. I gave a couple of checks just to win some time, and also to place my queen on a better square, which I felt was c6, and now I went king g2. So I placed the queen on c6 to avoid his immediate counterplay with the b pawn. So now at least he has to spend one move, bringing the queen to a5. And now again I placed the queen to c7, just that b5 right away is not possible because his queen on a5 is hanging. Therefore he gave check on d5, and now he pushed the pawn, and now I played f4. And yeah, my whole point was here that after queen d3 check, which he played in the game, I always have king h4, and my king is, at least in many cases, pretty safe here in front of the pawns. And also my queen on c7 does a great job controlling the square on h7, controlling the square on d8. So yeah, he went queen d4, and now f5 check, king f6, and now I went king h5. There were already some tricks here, as far as I could tell. I think I thought about, where was this? I saw some nice trick. Maybe it was not here. There were some pretty cool checkmates along the lines here. Maybe it was if he plays b4 right away. No, then I can... Yeah, this was the trick. Yeah, if b4, then I have f5 check, king f6, and now g5, and if king takes f5, now I have queen h7 with the skewer. So that's what I saw during the game. But unfortunately for me, he went queen d4, which is a great defending move. f5 check, king f6, king h5. This is just preparing g5 in many cases. I just have to be careful that the queen doesn't appear on the h file, because then I would get mated. But yeah, the queen is still on d4, so it cannot reach the h file just yet. And now he went b4, which apparently is a mistake. Queen d5, according to the engine, was the way to go, and now he's threatening queen h1 check, and apparently this is still a draw. But as I said, over the board this is pretty tough. Like, you have to calculate all sorts of things. Even g5 check, king takes f5, this can be pretty tricky, because this pawn is a bit faster than the pawn on b5. So I don't know, something like queen c8 check, here queen f8 check, and yeah, this pawn is also running, like, I don't know, king e3 I guess, and king h6 or something like this. Should be a draw for sure, but he's definitely on the defensive side. But he went b4, and this was already the losing mistake. So this, I think, speaks only how tough the position actually is, because b4 looks very logical. Black just wants to get some counterplay, but after this it's already losing. So yeah, for all of you who just joined, after b4 there's, I think, only one way to win, which I played. It was queen h7. 7. Oh, whoops, again I jumped back to the... back to the start. Yeah, so in this position I played queen h7, and the point is that I'm just preparing to play g5. If I would play g5 right away, this was actually my first thought, simply to give this pawn here. But after queen f7 check, now I thought king e5 is the best defense, keeping this line open for the queen. And yeah, black should have perpetual check somehow, like after g6. I guess he can go queen d1 check, king h6, and queen h1. Now I have to block the pawn, and it should all end in a draw somehow. But I went queen h7, and now I'm preparing to go g5 without giving up the pawn on f5. I went queen f4, which I also anticipated. I thought this was the best defense. But now I played queen g6 check, and finally I managed to get my perfect setup here after king g7, queen d7, and now g5. So I wanted to place the queen here on purpose. I also thought about, yeah, also here queen g7 check, king e8, f6 was what I thought, but now I thought he has perpetual with queen h2 check, and he always has some checks here, so I didn't want to allow this. What else was there? Yeah, I think also queen e6 and now g5. This is what I thought about. And now the main difference is the queen is on e6 instead of on d7. And now I thought that queen c7 is a great defense, and now he's blocking the 7th rank, and I didn't see a way to win at least. After king g6, he always has queen g7 check, forcing back the king. So I thought this is the best. This is holding. Maybe I will check what the engine says. Yeah, queen c7 is the way to go. Apparently also check first, and then queen c7 holds the draw. But yeah, I instead went queen g7. The engine says this is a question mark, but it's also winning, so it's only a small move order difference. And now I placed the queen to d7, and now I went g5. So now that he doesn't have queen c7 anymore, blocking the 7th rank, and here he already resigned actually, because there's nothing he can do about king g6 followed by checkmate. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, for all of you who sticked around. This was the recap of round 1. I will see you tomorrow in round 2, hopefully in the recap of round number 2. Probably again pretty late in the evening, since the round tomorrow starts at 4 p.m. So yeah. What's up, Felix? Hi, Mills. What's up? I was just about to end the stream. If any of you who are watching still have some questions, let me know in the chat. I think the game was pretty decent from him as well. I mean, he misplayed the opening a bit, but then he just defended really well, and I'm still not sure where I really went wrong. Like, the engine gives always some advantage, and then at some point it just disappears, not by my mistakes, but only by his great moves. So his defense was great, but in the end game, I was lucky to get away with the win. Thanks, man. Thank you I'm glad that you enjoyed the stream. Thank you for your wishes tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, in the stream. I guess it will be also around 9 p.m., maybe 10 p.m. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, for sticking around, and